Hey everybody, this is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead, and I'm here today to show you another recipe. And I think on one of my previous videos I had told you that I saw this lady make this recipe, and so I'm trying it, and we're going to see if it's a recipe that the family's going to like. It's budget friendly, and we'll get it started here, and we'll get it cooked up. And it's a casserole, but it has to cook the pasta on the stovetop, and then we'll put it in the oven and we'll see what we've come up with. I've got some homemade bread baked. I didn't bake it. My Howie's aunt, she lives right down the road, and she surprised me yesterday and brought me some homemade bread and some homemade pumpkin bread and some dinner rolls, and we'll have that with our supper and we'll enjoy. And let's get this started, because I think it'll be a budget friendly meal that'll help us all out, and see if we can't do a meal that's meatless. Around here that's rare because my family likes to have meat for supper, but we're going to have a meatless meal, and let's see if Blake cares for it. Okay, the water is boiling. I've brought this pot to a boil, and what I do is I put lots of salt in it and make it like a salt water. Not that I've ever been to the beach or anything like that. I never have been, but I always heard the cooks on the Food Network say, salt your water like it's seawater. And so I always cook my pasta in salty water, and it gives it a really good, imparts flavor to it. And so that's what I've done. I put, I was liberal with the salt. The water has come to the boil, and now I'm going to put my pasta in it. Now tonight I'm using, this is what the lady used. I'm sorry if I doubt she'll see my video, because I saw her video on Facebook. But nonetheless, I'm going to use this cheese tortellini. I'm not trying to advertise anybody's brand, but this is the one that was available by doing grocery pickup, and it was $1.82 a bag. I'm going to use 2 bags and probably have leftovers. And it says it's ready to use in 3 minutes time. So the water's come to a boil, and I'm going to put those in there, and we're just going to let those cook. And when they are done, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next part of our recipe. It's really simple. It's just a few ingredients, and you know how I feel about making sure that I get everything out of the jar. So we're going to use 2 jars of sauce, 1 spaghetti sauce, 1 Alfredo sauce, the noodles, and then cheese for the top. And I think this will be a really good recipe, and we'll talk about some ways to make this recipe a little bit more interesting. Maybe talk about how we can make it off of our pantry without even having to have special noodles for that, because these tortellinis are frozen. And we'll see if we can't figure out how to make it from shelf pantry supplies that we have. And also we'll talk about different meat options and sauce options, and we'll see if we can't figure out a way to make our budget stretch. And we all know that that's something that we need to do today, is to make our budget stretch. Okay guys, stick with me. I'm going to let this pasta cook, and when it's done we'll be back and we'll go on to the next part of the recipe. The tortellini cooked, and it's drained, it's ready to go, and so I've put it here, and when I get the sauce ready I'll add this to it and get it all mixed up and get it in the casserole dish, and we'll be ready to go to get it in the oven so that supper will be ready when the kids get home this evening. So the first thing I'm going to add is, now remember we spent $1.82 per bag on the tortellini. Depending on your family size, you may only need 1, or you may need more. But for me, I've used 2, so that's not quite $4. I'm using 1 can of homemade spaghetti sauce. You can use, or 1 jar, I'm sorry, but you can use a can of store-bought. And I'm going to rinse this just a little bit, because you remember how I say that I like to get all of the contents. And so I'm going to just get that in there, and I'm going to get all of that goodness out of there. You can make home canned spaghetti sauce from your fresh tomatoes. That is delicious. Or I'll tell you, if you don't grow a garden and you don't have access to a bunch of tomatoes at the farmer's market, you can make spaghetti sauce by getting some big cans, the number 10 cans of tomato sauce, and putting it in a big pot and cooking it down with your spices, and making your home canned sauce that way, and you can save a lot of money. And we may do that later on. I may make some more spaghetti sauce with you that way before I have fresh tomatoes this summer to make it with the fresh tomatoes, just so we can see how we can stretch our budgets. So less than $2 for your pasta if you're going to use the filled tortellinis, and you can get a can of spaghetti sauce for $1, or you can get a jar of spaghetti sauce for a couple dollars, just depending on the brand. Some people are brand loyal and you're only going to buy a specific brand of spaghetti sauce. But if you'll go with your store brand, you can save a lot of money. And if you need to add a little bit, say you want a little bit more of a garlic taste, or you want some more, add some Italian seasoning, just play around with the sauce until you get it the way you like it, and you can turn a cheap ingredient into something that tastes like you might have paid a little bit more for it. We've got to do everything we can today to save money, right? And so then the next thing, again, I'm not advocating a store brand. What I did was I got the cheapest one that I could find just for us to try it and just to see if how it would taste. And that spatula's not going to fit down in that jar, so I'm going to, pardon me while I get a spoon. And I'm going to add it to my skillet and get it all mixed together. And remember to use it all. We don't want to waste anything, right? Pardon me if that scrape of that jar is bothering any of you. There's just a little bit more in here. I'll show you. If you can see down in that jar, I'm going to get all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little bit of water in that jar. And I'm going to shake it all up. I'm going to get it out there just like that. And so, you know, I know that chefs and people that are a lot more experienced at all of this stuff than I am would probably cringe at that. But if we're trying to raise our families and we're trying to make things go as far as we can in this day and age, then we need to use everything we've got, right? We need to scrape those jars, and we need to figure out ways to make inexpensive ingredients taste a little bit better. Now, I know all of you Italian grandmas, I know you're thinking, that is in no way an Italian dish. But on a budget, or maybe for the newlyweds that are just married and learning to cook, or for a young mama that's busy with her children, or even someone my age that, you know, you have so much on your plate, so many things to do, you're working and you're being pulled in so many directions. Don't let yourself feel guilty for fixing something that's easy and quick. You know, budget friendly, quick, simple, fill your belly. There's not anything wrong with any of those things, and there's no reason for you to feel guilty because you didn't make everything from scratch. But we'll let this sauce get mixed together and combine just a little bit, and then we're gonna, I don't know if my pasta will actually go in this skillet with this. I hope that you can see my skillet here and see this sauce. Mixing the two together has just kind of made it like a real light sauce. It's not a real thick sauce, but it's going to be in there with that pasta. And we're going to put cheese on the top. We'll have that nice homemade bread, and it'll be a good meal. And it won't have cost us a lot of money. We haven't spent a whole lot of time putting it together, but it'll be something hot and it'll be good. Okay, so I think that's good enough for what we're going to try to do. And I think I will go ahead, let me move closer so that y'all can see a little bit of what I'm doing. I'm so sorry that I just really don't, pardon the studio, it's not, okay. So I'm going to put the pasta in this dish. And I went ahead and sprayed this dish simply to make it a little bit easier for everything that we got going. And I'm going to carefully pour this sauce over the top. Watch me make a mess in front of everybody. I'm going to pour this sauce right on the top. I'm going to put it all in there. Every bit of it. I'm right-handed, but my thumb, my right thumb, oh my goodness, it's got to where it just doesn't let me hold on to anything really heavy, and I can't hold a bowl and do like, you know, hold it like this. I have to switch it to my left hand, and or I'll drop it. So I guess I'm getting arthritis, but we'll get this all mixed up and all in there, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead, if you'll pardon me for just a second. I'm back, and I can tell how loose that is, that I am going to put it on a cookie sheet just for a little extra layer of protection in my oven. And you can't see it at all. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me move it over here. And everything is hot, so I'm going to go ahead and put cheese on the top of it. Let it all get good and melted and set up. Let that cheese get yummy on the top of it. Okay, so I've got the cheese on the top. And I'm going to stick that in the oven, and then we'll have a little discussion. Okay, so while supper is cooking, and I'd say that probably needs to be about 15 or 20 minutes at the most, because everything really is cooked. You're just melting your cheese and letting everything come together. So you saw how quick that was. The tortellini was just 3 minutes in the pot to be cooked, and then putting the sauce together and getting it all in there and letting it get all gooey on the top and brown with the cheese, and so it'll be a relatively easy meal and quick meal. But I was thinking about this, and I told Blade today that I was going to make it, and the first thing he wanted to know is what kind of meat. I'm pretty sure that this recipe is going to be a versatile recipe that you could use because it has spaghetti sauce and it has Alfredo sauce in it. I think that it would be delicious with chicken, like grilled diced chicken. It would be good with hamburger. You could probably use ground turkey, but I don't really use a whole lot of ground turkey. But I think it would be good with chicken or beef, either one, ground beef. And also, I think that you could play around with the noodles. And if you didn't have that tortellini, I sure wouldn't let it stop you, because you could make some really, really nice casseroles that are inexpensive for your family, and maybe not as quick, because dry noodles, of course, are going to take you a little bit longer than 3 minutes to get ready. But you could use elbow noodles, you could use shell noodles, in any size of shells. You could use your rigatonis, you could use the spiral shells. That's one reason why it's a good thing to keep on your pantry shelf, dry pastas that you can pull off and you can make meals like this, because they are so economical for families. And I just believe that I think you could even play with the sauce just a little bit, and we may do that in the future, see with some different things that we can come up with, and have something that will be a quick and easy meal for us. Now, of course, you can't can this. You can can your sauce, but you can't, it's not recommended that you can anything with flour, dairy, noodles. I know there are people that are rebel canners, and they do that, and they don't have any problems with it. But myself, I know from the Ball Canning Book and other sources that they don't recommend that you can those kind of things. So I don't can any kind of soups or other products that have noodles in them. Noodles would be something that you would have to add before, you know, before you eat, or before you, I'll get it out in a minute. When you put the casserole together, then you would add your cooked noodles, and you'd have a quick meal that way. So anyway, I'm going to let this cook, like I said, for about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. And tonight we're going to have a good meal of this casserole and a good loaf of homemade bread, and we're going to enjoy our evening. It's kind of rainy and nasty here just a little bit, but we're blessed anyways, and we'll be back when it's ready. Okay guys, casserole's out of the oven. I got the bread sliced here, and it looks delicious, and we're going to have some of that with our supper. The casserole is nice, and the cheese is melted, and so I'll take a little bit of it out here. It's nice and saucy, and it's really piping hot. So I'll show you what it looks like, but I probably won't eat any because it'll burn my tongue. Put a little bit of this sauce on the top of it. Now you could sprinkle the top of it with cheese, Parmesan cheese, or how I called it, stinky cheese or foot cheese. But anyway, this is what it looks like. And it was, the whole casserole cost less than $6 for a 9x13 casserole that'll feed a pretty good sized family with bread, and you could have a salad, make it a delicious midwinter supper. Quick and easy, stretch your budget, and that's what we're all looking for. Let's all work together and do the best that we can to look well to the ways of our household. This is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead. I love you, and until next time, we're gone.